February is World Teen Mental Wellness Day, and it aims to raise awareness and encourage conversations around the topic of mental health.
It's no small issue, with 1 in 7 young people between the ages of 10 and 19 experiencing mental illness, and that's according to the World Health Organization. And joining us now with tips to manage mental health for both teen and parents is Kind Health Group physician and CEO Dr. Georgine Nanos. Dr. Nanos, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here today.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why teens are so susceptible to mental illness.
Sure. Well, the teenage years are a difficult time, and they always have been for teenagers. I mean, we all remember being teens. There's a lot of physical and emotional change going on, a lot of growth, and a lot of anxiety and stress and depression. And that's always been the case, but it's now magnified by the society we all live in. We've got our phones attached to us, social media banging down the door all the time. And you know, it's also, we're all recovering from COVID. The collective PTSD of the COVID-19 pandemic really hit our teens very, very hard, and our young people. There was a lot of social isolation. So if there was any small thread of underlying anxiety and depression, this just magnified it all.
Are there numbers that show that it's gotten significantly worse in recent years?
Yes, dramatic. So I think that 1 in 7 is a way underreported estimate. Yeah.
What do parents do? I have a couple teens at home. You know, where do you start? How do you have that conversation, either to destigmatize it or kind of address what's going on if kids are struggling?
Yeah, exactly. The first thing is really having those open lines of communication, being able to create a safe, non-judgmental space for our teens. I mean, a lot of times as parents, we want to just kind of tell them what we think is best because we think we know that, and we often do, but you want to really just create space and awareness for your kids to be able to talk to you and feel comfortable and know that they can say anything to you and they won't feel judgment. And then also for parents to really be aware of the signs that we're looking for.
And what are those signs? What are the things that we should be looking at? What kinds of disorders are you seeing?
So we're seeing probably #1 anxiety, followed by very close behind depression. So anxiety disorder and depression are two biggest things that we're seeing, as well as some PTSD, but primarily it's anxiety and depression, and those can manifest themselves in a variety of ways. Let's start with depression, for example. So a lot of people don't realize that depression can be very subtle. It can manifest itself in changes in sleep patterns, eating patterns, motivation, in as short as just 2 weeks. If you see that your kids are a little off and not eating or sleeping like they normally do, really withdrawing, socially isolating, or just not motivated to do things that they normally like to do, those could all be potential signs of depression. And then with anxiety, it's a little different. A lot of times they coexist together and they kind of relay back and forth. That's also common. With anxiety, you see a lot of worry and stress about things that they necessarily can't control, that just kind of becomes irrational fears. And that can be one of the big signs of anxiety too.
You try to open up that communication with your kids, and you're like, I was your age not that long ago, I get it. Been more than a couple years, but it feels like it wasn't that long ago to us, right? But they are living in a different world than we grew up in, right? Can you talk a little bit about social media, about phones, about video games? I mean, we had video games, but they weren't quite what they are today. Like, how that affects kids, and what's like a great approach to addressing it?
Well, having some quiet, like, social media and phone-free times, and kind of carving those out. I know it's easier said than done. And having that space where you can connect human to human rather than machine to human, which we see. You see kids out and like everyone's sitting, at a restaurant and they're all on their phones, texting each other. They're texting each other right in front of you. So trying to carve out that time where there's no phones or devices. Dinner time's a great opportunity to do that. Just have no devices at the dinner table, or when you're having certain conversations, even at night, kind of powering down and putting the phone somewhere else outside of the bedroom, because it's sometimes hard even as adults.
How do you get them to do that? Like, is it better? I mean, you can do a time limit on their phone, or is it better to have the conversation and let them be the one who initiates it or is willing to put it down?
I think if it can come from them, that's always better. And also finding activities that can replace that time, spending time outdoors, getting exercise, seeing sunlight, sunshine. I mean, we have a great place where we can take advantage of all that. So that's also really helpful.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that sometimes you can talk to your kids, but you'll need a little bit more professional help than that. You know, you can't just talk to them. What are some of the treatments that are offered? I know there's medication, but what else?
So medication and talk therapy have long been the mainstays of treatment that we've had. And one of the newer developments in mental health treatment is TMS, which stands for transcranial magnetic stimulation. And as soon as I say that, my next words are, it's not electric shock therapy.
Yeah.
It is entirely different, and it's been FDA approved for over 15 years now to treat anxiety and depression very, very effectively without medication, without any long-term side effects, which is not something I can say about anything else in medicine. And so we are using this a lot in my clinic to treat kids as young as 12 without the, the concerns with medication side effects, and seeing amazing results. And so the way it works is these magnetic field pulses penetrate deep areas in the brain where our anxiety and depression centers lie. So for any of us as humans, when we're exposed to any negative event or a stressor or a challenge or trauma, we develop these pathways in our brains that can become these well-worn loops that are tough to get out of. And so you kind of get stuck there. And what the TMS device does is it delivers these pulses that create these brand new synaptical connections in the brain, so that, and we're delivering them on the order of like 100, 200,000 times. So we're really retraining your brain to create these new positive pathways, so that when you are, after you're done with a treatment session, which takes about 40 sessions, after you're done with that, you are better able to cope and emotionally regulate and just face those challenges without going into those negative loops.
TMS actually helps to stimulate those areas that are, and
Correct.
you can help with not just mental, with mental illness, but PTSD,
Yep.
all of those things,
Yes.
obsessive compulsive disorder, all those other things as well.
Yes. So we use it in our clinic not just for teenagers, but also for veterans, first responders, at-risk youth. We use it for a wide variety of applications, including traumatic brain injuries, and a whole host of symptoms very safely. It's the most promising breakthrough we have in mental health right now, and it's really exciting to be a part of that.
Dr. Nanos, we got to run, but is it a long-term solution? Like, will it,
Yes.
once you retrain the brain, does it help you for the long term, or you have to keep on going through it?
Well, like the brain's a muscle, so you got to keep working on it with a bunch of other things that we can do in addition to TMS, but yeah.
All right, Teen Mental Wellness Day on Saturday. Very important conversation to have, and as a parent of 2 teens, I appreciate the insight very much.
Thank you for having
Okay,
me.
you got it, Dr. Nanos. Thank you so
for
much.
coming in.